as you can see, like it's a spent round in there. Like I said, I do not like dry firing, so what you would do is you just cock it back.
Right, so I'll say a couple of things before we start. One is thank you to Sean and Ryan for doing their part of this video. Really appreciate it, so thanks a lot for doing that, because I wouldn't have been able to do none of the bit what you did. So I really appreciate that. Right, so this video is going to be about gun laws. Now I was going to call it, and I'd already spoke to Sean about this, I was going to call it UK gun law, and we'd already spoke about it, but then I realised if I'm going to do the air gun part of this, I'm going to have to call it English gun law, because Scotland has different laws when it comes to air rifles. And this is going to be quite a long video, but it's well worth watching, especially their part, Sean and Ryan's. It's really good, really surprising what you can get in this country, and it's all relevant to survival and prepping, you know, knowing the laws on firearms and all stuff like that. So I'm going to go through a bit about non-licensed air rifles. Now some air rifles over 12 foot-pound, well, all air rifles over 12 foot-pound, you will need a firearm certificate. So that is the only kind of universal factor with air rifles, is air rifles over 12 foot-pound muzzle velocity, you need a license, and air pistols, you can only have them up to 6 foot-pound. Anything over 6 foot-pound, so far as I know and what I've read, they're just prohibited. You can't like get a license for them. They're prohibited. This is, you know, so far as I know. So I'll just show you a few kind of different ones which I've got. There's many others, but this is a couple. So this is a BSA Lightning XL Tactical. You may have seen this in a video before. I did a bit of a bad paint job on the stock, but it works. Now this is a 177 break barrel spring piston air rifle, under 12 foot-pound. Guaranteed this one is. I'm not sure what it shoots in feet per second. But you don't need a license for this, and you can hunt small game with it. Now this one here at the back, this is a Gamo. Well actually this is a bit of a weird one. This is a Gamo Shadowmatic like action in a Gamo Realtree stock. The only difference would be, and if you got this originally, this would be in black. And this is spring piston. It's got, both of them got a silencer on, which is okay. You don't need anything special for that. This one has got on it a magazine on the top of it, which fires or holds 8 pellets. I've done a video on this before. You pull this down, drop your pellets in. It needs to be flathead pellets. You put it back in, close it up, and you let this off, so like the spring is pushing them in. If you held back there, it's got a rising breech block, so every time you just need to cock it, fire, cock it, fire. They're completely legal. Now you also get gas ram air rifles, pre-charged pneumatic air rifles, pump up pneumatic air pistols and rifles, and CO2. I'll show you a CO2 pistol, and that's this one. And this is the Crossman 2240, I believe. I haven't had these out for so long. Yeah, Crossman 2240 2.2 air pistol, and that's, if you can just about see it, I ain't got many at the minute, but that's a 2.2 air rifle pellet. And these work on, you open this front part up here, and you drop in CO2 capsule, and you screw this back on. And then these work just by, you open the bolt, put one in, close it up, but this hasn't even got the thing in it, so this will just go, and then that's it. You can have the scope on it, whatever, the silencer on it, but these was all extras. Now, pre-charged pneumatic air rifles, they kind of look similar to this. They have this tank at the bottom, but instead of putting in CO2 bulbs, the tank itself gets filled up with air. And more often than not, those air rifles have multiple shot magazines, etc. Sometimes they can just be like this, single shot. Completely legal as long as it's under 12 foot-pound. Now I'll just show you this one. This is a Crossman Medalist 1322. It's pretty much the new one. This is an old one. The new ones of these have pretty much the same top action as this one, with the brass bolt and everything. But this is an old one, and it has this strange kind of opening there. You put your pellet in and you pump it up like this. And you can get rifles like this as well. And these ones are like variable power. The more you pump it up, the powerful it'll get. But it's got like a let off valve on it, so it'll only go up to a certain power. You can't keep pumping it and think it's going to go, you know, 100 foot-pound. Just won't do it. And on this one, you pull this back and then it should fire. Or well, you're going to have to just fire this now. There you go. Pump it up 10 times for full power, and that'll go 6 foot-pound. Now, as regards to other laws, in the old days they used to just say you can have an air gun, sling it under your bed, whatever. But they've slightly changed laws on that now. What they try to do is they want you to, where is that? Oh, I had it written down somewhere on this computer. From February 2011, the Crime and Security Act makes it an offence for a person in possession of an air rifle to fail to take reasonable precautions to prevent someone under the age of 18 from gaining unauthorised access to it. Now what I do, all of mine, they get put back in their gun bags. I make sure they're not loaded, make sure they've got no ammo with them. Put them in the gun bag, and then I put them in a cupboard and lock the cupboard up. And that's what they like you to do, things like that now, you know, because people used to just leave them in their like bedroom, whatever, just standing up, and then kids would get them, mess about, and shoot each other and kill each other and things like that. And you should always be responsible anyway. You don't want someone breaking into your house and nicking them. So the other laws to do with air guns are to do with ages. So if you're over 18, then if you are 18 years or older, there are no restrictions on buying an air rifle and ammunition, and you can use it wherever you want as long as you have permission to shoot on that land. Under 18, so from 14 to 17, you can borrow an air rifle and ammunition and use an air rifle without supervision on premises where you have permission. So, you know, I think if you need to be very responsible if you're going to use these things. You can't just, to be honest, if I had a 15-year-old, and even if it was a family member and they said, "Can I borrow an air rifle and take it in the woods or whatever," and I got permission, for a while I'd probably say no, or I'll go with you or whatever. Only once you've known they've been shooting for a while and was definitely safe, definitely responsible, would never do anything stupid, then maybe, but between 14 and 17 years old, you cannot buy or hire an air rifle. No, sorry. Yeah, you cannot buy one or hire one or even receive one as a gift. Your air rifle and your ammunition must be bought and looked after by someone over 18, normally your parent, guardian or a responsible adult. You cannot, this is between 14 and 17, you cannot have an air rifle in a public place unless you are supervised with somebody aged 21 and over and have a reasonable excuse to do so, i.e. on the way to shooting grounds. Now, under 14, you can use an air rifle under supervision on premises. The person must be over 21. You cannot buy, hire, receive. It's illegal to sell an air rifle ammunition to a person under 18 years of age. Just trying to see if there's any other bits. There's lots of other weird little laws like trespassing, you get done for armed trespass, firing pellets beyond your land, but this is just the ownership of air rifles. So you can have spring, and you get all variants of these. You get brake barrel, under lever, side lever, all different things like that. CO2, pump up pneumatic, pre-charged pneumatic. We used to have years ago like these broke air cartridge guns, which were air guns, but they banned those because people were converting the guns to fire live bullets. So they've been completely banned, so you can't have those. Yeah, just trying to think if there's anything else I could say on it. Well, that's pretty much what I would say. Is if it was up to me, I would always lock these up. I never just leave them out anywhere, always put them away. Right, so that's my part. I think that's pretty much all I can tell you. Now I'll pass you over to Sean and Ryan for the really interesting part of this video. Well worth watching. So here's Sean and Ryan now.
Hello everyone, Sean and Ryan here from Guns UK 31. We've been asked to help out on a little video a good friend Malcolm is doing. And it's to do with what we can and cannot own in the UK. So obviously we are not experts on this matter, but we're going to go through roughly what we can and cannot own. Between me and Ryan, my son, we both have shotgun certificates and firearm certificates, and we go to the range quite regular. And this is stuff that we own in the background. There's various different firearms and shotguns here. And we have different ammunition, etc. and information to share with you. But rightfully so, my son brought up a couple of minutes ago before we started the video, basically, how do you obtain a firearm certificate? Well, I can tell you that in the UK, obtaining a firearm certificate is not easy, number one. Nor really is a shotgun certificate or shotgun certificate easy to obtain. First of all, you have to have reason to own a firearm, and then reasons are whether you have land to shoot on, permitted land to shoot on for a firearm, or whether you are a full member of a shooting club. Now, me and Ryan are full members of a shooting club. It's not easy to become a member of a shooting club neither, because obviously you have fees You have a probationary period, which we were, is it 6 months?
Yeah, 6 month
yeah,
period.
six months period on our probationary period. It can be 3 to 6 months, depending. Yeah, so it's not easy, you know, and you have to have a reason. You cannot use the excuse of I want a firearm for self-defense, because you will not get one. I want a shotgun for self-defense. That's prohibited, and it's not a very good reason at all to own one. Hopefully it would never come down to anybody using a firearm for self-defense. Me and my son have an array of them behind me, and we use these for the range. I don't have any trigger because I'm sorting my trigger out in the Revo pump action. Yeah, so we have these for the range. That's our reason for owning firearms. Like I said, we're not professionals. We're just trying to give honest advice and our knowledge on how to obtain a firearm in the UK, or to help people understand it. So first of all, let's talk about we are unloaded. I have a spent shell in here because I do not like dry firing my 10-22 Ruger, but this is a semi-automatic. I'll just put the spent shell back in if I can get it in, so that when we close the bolt we don't have to dry fire it because it's bad for these. This is a semi-automatic 10-22 and it fires the, what we have here is we have a 22 mini mag. It's copper washed. A lot of people compare these to an air rifle, which is very much wrong, because your average weight for a 22 air rifle is 15 grains. Well, that weighs 40 grains. We have a little box of 100 behind me. Yeah, 40 grain round nose, because you're not allowed to use hollow point for target. So we get the round nose, and these are coming out at 1235 feet per second, which I think we calculated to 135 foot-pound. So there's 135 foot-pound of energy coming out of these muzzle, which obviously in the UK is sub 12 foot-pound for an air rifle. So it's a lot harder hitting, a lot more dangerous. That's why these things have to always be treated with care and respect. Firearms are very dangerous. What we have with this, but before we go on to the magazines, etc., 22 rimfire is your most common semi-automatic, and it's one of the only semi-automatics you will be allowed to own in the UK. There is the, I'm sorry everybody, we've got the information wrote down over here because, you know, like I said, we have to look it up. We also have the 22 WMR, which is basically the 22 rimfire Magnum, so it's a 22 on steroids. You can also get that in the semi-automatics as well, but they're not as accurate as the 22 LR. I may have had one at the range. I don't know if I've still got a video of it. If I have, I'll post it. And that is coming out with a 1900 feet per second, and it's coming out at about 320 foot-pounds. So that'll be the 22 Magnum. We do not have the 17 HMR in the semi-automatics because, and that's the .177, and because there's been a lot of problems with them, number one, and number two, when the law was passed that we could have the 22 and a 22 mag in semi-automatic, it was an old law. Then they brought out the 17 HMR, so that doesn't fall into that category. So we have in bolt guns, but I hear that the Americans have been having a lot of problems with them, with the pressure, the cases splitting, etc. I don't want to go too far into it. I just want to tell you what we can and can't have in a semi-automatic. So what we have is we have the 22, and what we've got here is we've got 10 round rotary mag, and you grab your rounds and you would feed them in thus. So you pop it in, and you put in 10 rounds like that. So we've got that, and how that goes in is that just goes in the bottom, and then you will slam the bolt forward and you pull, and you've got basically 10 rounds to fire off. And if I can get it back out, it should be falling out easy, but as you can see it is cleaned. And we have the 25 round BX25 Ruger. That just goes in like that, and you've got 25 rounds to muck around with at the range. Can get expensive when you start using the 25 rounders. As you can see, like it's a spent round in there. Like I said, I do not like dry firing. So what you would do is you just cock it back, and basically you're ready to go. Pull the trigger, and you're off. Then it works off of. Basically, it uses the pressure or the gas from the round, fires back your bolt, and spits out your shell like that. So that basically is your 22. And to hold that back, you just pull that back, press on that little button, and it holds it open. Always make sure that you're clear, empty, safety is on. So that's for 22. We have that one. Also, now these are very fun, and we've got the red dot on it. These are very fun if you want to just fire off at steel plates and stuff. Then we have also in the 22 LR for a little bit more accuracy, and compared to any slug gun, these are very accurate. Again, we are empty. Can you just show that a bit, Ryan? Again, we're empty. Safety always in mind here. We'll take this spent round again and we'll put it in because I do not like dry firing. If I can get it in there. We have a 5 round metal magazine, and this is where Bruno, this is an old Bruno, and it's made in the Czech Republic. So we have a 5 round magazine, and we also have a cheaper 10 round magazine. Both these magazines run flawlessly. So if you pop that in, push your bolt forward, and you're ready to go. You know, lovely trigger on this one. And it spits out your shell. Same with the 10 round magazine. I'll just show you how that actually works with the bolt. It's lovely. We do have to get this bolt sorted out. It's a little bit tight when it comes to locking in. It's not the actual seating of the bullet, it's actually behind here. We have to get it sorted out a little bit. I cannot find that. Always happens when you're trying to do a video. Yep, and we're in. So we've got a 10 round magazine, and again what you would do is you would push in and you'd feed them in here. You have little indicators on here. When you see your brass there, you've got your 10 rounds in. That goes in there, bolt goes forward, your safety's up here, safety on, gun will not fire, safety off. Like I said, very good trigger on this. Out comes your spent shell. So that's for Bruno, that's for 22 LR, very good little gun. Scope on it is very bad, as my son pointed out. It's very fuzzy, but it's just a cheap, you can use air rifle scopes on these, so it's just a cheap bit of fun. But even with the cheap scope, I mean, we would get in groups, so even with the, that's my son just indicating that we've got 1 minute left on my memory card, so we've got to put all this together. Even with the cheap scope, we would get in at 25 yards. I think my best group was about that, right?
Yeah.
It was just a little bit bigger than the 22 basically, but that's for 22s. Next my son is going to take you on to the shotguns in the back, so we'll see you then.
Hi guys, Brian here. I'm going to take you through the shotgun side of what we can and can't have in the UK. So first I want to talk about, you can have a shotgun certificate. It's separate from a firearms certificate, so you will have to apply for it separately. But there's also a line that you have to be careful of when dealing with shotgun certificate and what is technically a shotgun but crosses the line into Section 1 firearms, which is basically on a shotgun certificate you're allowed, we don't have Section 1, so we've just got shotgun certificate shotguns. We've got the side-by-side here, which I'll show you here, the side-by-side, because basically on a shotgun certificate you're only allowed a maximum capacity of 3 rounds or shells in the gun at one time, and obviously side-by-side, just checking on empty, side-by-side only carries 2 anyway, so that's absolutely fine to have if you've got a shotgun certificate. This one particularly is quite an old side-by-side. We've had this for ages now. It was the first shotgun we got, but it's still alright. Safety's always on after. And then obviously trigger per barrel, and the choke's different on each barrel. I think it's the left one's a tighter choke?
Yeah. So the first trigger is your right barrel, isn't it?
Yeah. And the left one's a tighter choke, just for, obviously when you're clay pigeon shooting or something and you shoot the second one, it's going to be further away, so you need a tighter choke for that. So that's side by side. That also covers over and unders and single barrels, kind of Liga shotguns as well. All those kind of not pump action or semi shotguns. And then when it comes to pump action and semi-auto shotguns, we've got the pump here, we've got the Revo, and yeah, you're still only allowed a maximum capacity of 3 shells at once. So it's most commonly 2+1, which means 2 are hold in the gun in the magazine down here, and then 1 is in the chamber. That's the maximum you're allowed for semi-auto or pump action. If the capacity goes above 3, it turns into a Section 1. You need a new certificate for that. You won't be able to cover it with a shotgun certificate. The same if you want to shoot slugs through your shotgun, you can't do that on a shotgun certificate either. So that'll have to be Section 1. So
hence the reason why you couldn't use the little ones in the pump action.
Yeah.
Because they're shorter, and I suppose you could get 4 in there.
Yeah, which would then obviously make it illegal. So these ones, yeah, to talk about the shells, okay, we'll start with this one since we're already on it. It can't be used in here because it's too short and could go over the legal capacity for a normal shotgun certificate, but it's still absolutely fine by the side-by-side. We use it in the side-by-side, it's not too bad at all. Just a normal round really, 7-shot, just got a few less in there, but their balls are a tiny bit bigger than in this one, which is a 7.5. This is like the average kind of cheap-ish shell. You can actually see the shells in there, not the shells, sorry, the bird shot in there, hopefully. They're very small, there's plenty of them. They don't hit that hard, the pressure's quite low, but that's exactly what you need when shooting through the side-by-side, because the barrel is old and it's not fragile, but definitely not as strong as the barrel on something like the Revo. So this is what you'd shoot through this most of the time, as opposed to something like this, the Magnum steel shot. The pressure is just too high to shoot in the barrel of the side-by-side, so that's not what you probably couldn't shoot that in there, because your barrel could be pretty messed up just from the pressure. You can tell by the brass as well. I think it's just a matter of the higher the brass, the more pressure or the more power. So with the steel shot as well, we'd only be able to shoot in here, but because it's steel shot, because of the laws in England as well, this is the only shell that you can see here that you'd be able to shoot foul with or birds like on water, because a law was passed that you can't shoot game on water if you are using lead shot, just because of lead poisoning in the water and everything. It's not allowed. So the steel shot is what you use for that.
And that's a 3-inch Magnum, isn't it?
Yeah, 3-inch. The same as our SG round here, which is the equivalent of the American buckshot. We've got 9 8.4mm ball bearings in there. and well, this thing kicks like a mule in just about any shotgun.
Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart.
No, not at all, especially not if you're just starting shooting. It's probably quite bad to be hit by as well. It's like getting, to put it in terms of more understanding, if you're not familiar with shotguns, it's like getting hit by 9mm rounds all at once, which is quite devastating.
Yeah, it's coming out at about 1200 feet per second as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can we have a comparison between that and the red birdshot in size?
Yeah. So this is 3-inch.
And the size of the birdshot inside.
Yeah, if you can see that.
Yeah, it's a massive difference, yeah. And what we basically use them for is when the steel plates is out at the range.
Yeah, and the black gold round, I've never actually fired this. It's more of just a kind of, it's more expensive. It's basically just a better version of the red one. It's more high performance, more velocity, faster at 6-shot, so the bullets in it are slightly bigger as well, and a lot more pressure, I'm assuming, because of the casing as well, so that's just a higher performance shell. The actual guns themselves, obviously the reload doesn't have a trigger in the minute because we're fixing that, but the legal requirements for a shotgun is you're not allowed to have, your barrel has to be 24 inches. If it's pump action, semi-auto, anything like that, has to be minimum of 24 inches, as on here, on the side by side, well, on a side by side, under or over, or a single barrel as well on single shots. It says on laws that you can have it under 24 inches, but you need a very good reason to, and in British terms, a very good reason means basically you're not going to be able to think up a good enough reason to get a gun under 24 inches.
Yeah, most people would classify, like the Americans use, under 24 inches, and the reason would be self-defense, but we do not use.
Yeah, if you use self-defense as a reason, they refuse to give you any kind of certificate.
Yeah, and we would not use it for self-defense anyway.
Yeah. So that's the minimum requirements, and that's...
There was something on the single barrel when we checked up the law on the internet today, which was you can have it under 24 inches.
Yeah.
But we're not sure on that, so we're not going to go too far into it.
I'm not certain about
But if you need more information on it, just go and check, and I'm pretty sure you'll find it.
Yeah. So that's about it really, to cover up the shotgun section of what you can and can't have in the UK. So next will be Dad speaking about his part, which will probably be centre-fire rifles.
Right everybody, Sean back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a video on, or a section on, the centre fire rifles we have, which is the lever action, which is a 38 special or a 357 mag, and the Musgrave, which is a 308. Now obviously as we go through these, starting from the 22, the recoil for a 22 is possibly about the same as a 22 Springer. I mean, I don't consider Springers to have recoil, I consider them to have spring coil, but it's roughly about the same. So the 22 LRs have got they're basically very good starters for anybody, children can fire 22 LRs. This, after all, me and my son got into this is a sport for us, and we have a good laugh whilst we're doing it, and we go to the range and you meet loads of interesting people, etc. Like he said, the 12 gauge is not for the faint of heart if you're starting out, because 12 gauge, especially with the side by side as it has, nothing to help with the recoil. And if you're young, it can really put you off guns. The lever action that we have here, if you use the 38 special, what would you say, Ryan? There's not much recoil to that at all, is there?
No, not really, just a little pop.
Yeah, just a little pop. Obviously you can feel the weight of the slug coming out the end, the full the jacketed bullet coming at the end, because it's obviously heavier. I think it's about 148 grains, so you can feel it pushing and a little bit of a pop, but you know, not bad at all. And you move up to the 357 Magnum, which is considerably more recoil than the 38, and when I say considerably, I mean the difference is vast between the 357 Mag and on the 38 Special. So that's just going into the recoil of this one to begin with. So what we have here is we have a Rossi lever action. This is a very cheap make. It's made by the Brazilians, it's made by Taurus. Very fun to shoot, very fun. If you want to go to the range and you want to shoot something and you want to have fun doing it, then the 38 357s are a great caliber for doing that. Obviously, like I said, if you've got a youngster and you use 38 Special, it's obviously a good step up from the 22, a very good step up from the 22, but it's not going to scare anybody away. We have the buckhorn sights on this, as usual, empty, but a great little rifle. You can shoot it freehand. You can shoot this freehand, you know, it's not heavy at all, and it's fairly accurate. Out to 50 yards, we were shooting the other day, weren't we?
Yeah.
At the range, and what?
Like no less than for about 12 inches. No less than.
Yeah, most
that
of it
great.
was actually not off of a rest,
Yeah.
just off the hands. And that was obviously with the beaded sight at 50 yards, you can hardly see the sight because when you bring up the bead, you know. But I suppose if you want to, you can bring that down to about that at 50 yards. So the 38 Special in this is not bad. Possibly wouldn't drop the 357 Magnum in there for a youngster because it's got, like I said, considerably more kick and recoil with that. And we had a look at the stats on the 357 Magnum, and it's roughly coming out of this barrel, it's roughly doing about, what was it, about 1850?
Yeah.
Roughly about 1800 to 2000 feet per second. So it's coming out there, you know, a very old rate. It's really humming. So you're looking at about roughly between 11 to 12 and a half hundred, so 1,100 foot-pound of energy coming from that. So you know, it's a considerable step up again. So that's for Rossi lever action. We're going to move on now to where bigger round. I haven't got a scope on it at the minute because I want to see if I can get myself a decent scope for it. And this is again not for the faint of heart. It's not extreme recoil. You can handle it, but it's not something you're just going to hand to a new shooter. And what it will do is it's going to cause them to flinch because the recoil's it's quite a lot. And that's for 308 or a 7.62 by 54R. These are PPU, I think we're using. Yeah, PPU. It's a 145 grain bullet, and I think it's roughly travelling at about 2,800 feet per second, and I think the muzzle energy is roughly about the same, so it's roughly about 2,800 foot-pound of energy coming from this. It does have some bark when you shoot it. I took it to the range about a month ago and fired about 25-40 shots through it, and then, you know, I didn't really want to shoot anymore. I just put it down and went back to my 22 because 40 shots of the 308 is quite a lot. So yeah, it's got a lot of muzzle energy and it's really flying out there. But we have it in our bolt action Musgrave, which is a nice gun. You know, so you've got to put that flap down because if you think it'll catch on the bit where you actually load in. What you actually do is you actually take the round and you drop 5 in there and you just press them down. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's how we do it. And if you get stuck where you want to eject the rounds out, you can do it that way. You just press the button and they'll all fall back out. 308. So push that down so it's acting like it's got a round in there. You know, slam that forward. It's got the safety on the back. Will not fire. Don't really want to fire it. So what I'll have to do is, after the video, we'll have to get spent case drop it in and fire it. The trigger brake on this thing is so crisp. It's quite heavy, but what is it, Ryan? It's very minute, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you just like, you blink and it's off. Like I said, it's got a lot of recoil. 308. I've seen people shoot 1,000 yards with the 308. So yeah, it's not for the faint of heart at all. Very good gun. Want to upgrade this gun as well. The reason why I want to upgrade this gun is it's more for hunting. We do more target shooting. So what we'll do is, because these rounds are so hot, after about 10 the barrel will heat up and your bullets will start to stray off. When the barrel gets hot, it'll start to pull bullets left and right. So you have to let it cool down. And we want something we can pop 20 rounds through at the range and it's still cool. So yeah, but that's for 308. The downfalls for this is the rounds are very expensive. Every time you pull the trigger on this, you're looking at about 70 pence. So that's about 70 pence on a round. And like I said, the recoil is not for youngsters or newbies that want to come into the sport. So that's for 308, and this is made, I think, by South Africans. It does have, this, I think this is a form of a Mauser bolt. So it does have like a Mauser bolt, which is a very good bolt. So I hear, well, so I know. It's not the same as the K98, but yeah, it's a very good gun. So that's for 2 centerfire rifles. With this one, it's not easy to get big, powerful rounds like the 308 and stuff. Like, you can't just say I want this and not have a good reason. Or if you do have this, like we had this, and we also had the 7.62 by 54R, which most of you would know is in the Mosin Nagant. And enemy at the gates, facility size F, which is this round. The 7.62 by 54R, which you can see there is just slightly bigger. They're carrying about the same muzzle energy, but we used to have 2 of these. So we used to have the 308 and we'd have that one. The reason why we got rid of this one is because it was too expensive for me to run both centerfire calibers. And when we applied for this, the only reason why she let us have the 308 and the 7.62 by 54R at the same time was because my son wanted this, and there was 2 of us in the house. Normally, if you just start out and you want 2 centerfire calibers in these kind of sizes, you don't really have a decent enough reason for it. So it's very hard to get hold of 2. What can we say? Another thing before my son takes you onto the revolvers, which will be the last one, is a safe. Obviously you need a good safe if you want a firearm certificate. You need it bolted down to the ground, you need one for your rifles, and you need either a good safe in that cabinet or you need another safe for your ammunition. So we have 2 safes, and they're bolted down. There's no way anybody's moving them. And that's it on the centerfires. See you in a minute.
Hi guys, Ryan again, and I'm going to be talking you through the last subject that we have to cover personally because we've got one ourselves, and that's revolvers and pistols. And I'm going to be covering 2 main topics on the subject, which is going to be revolvers and pistols that use factory bought bullets like the one that we've previously shown you that we put into our lever action, the 38-357 bullets, and black powder and muzzle loaders and all the other kinds of revolvers as well. So I'll start with the factory load revolvers, the ones that use the 38 357 bullets that we've showed you. The requirements on these are quite strict because they want to stop concealed carry. So to stop you from using concealed carry so easily, because revolvers are typically quite small, they've made the law so that from the start of your barrel here, the start of the barrel onwards towards the front, it has to be a minimum of 12 inches on the barrel. It can't be any less than 12 inches. And then also from that exact same point backwards has to be another 12 inches. So usually you'll end up having a long barrel on the revolver, and then as it comes down to the back of the handle you'll have some kind of a rod, like a counterweight, or just something that supports under your wrist as well for the recoil. They can be used just so that the overall length of the revolver or pistol it will tend to just be just above 24 inches to stop concealed carry and stop people from storing them in pockets, etc. Another feature about these kinds of pistols is that if you've got one on your license, that it's not like any other gun where obviously take another gun, for example, like the 1022, we've got that on our license and we have it legally, of course. We take it to the range, other people can shoot our 1022, but with long barreled revolvers they have to be personal to you. Nobody else is allowed to shoot your long barrel revolver, even if they have a long barrel revolver on their license as well, and pistols. Even on shared licenses such as mine and Dad's, if one of us were to get a long barrel revolver or pistol, the other person couldn't shoot it. We have to get separate ones, or you can't use the same one. So yeah, the laws on the factory load revolvers and pistols are quite strict. And then there's the other half, which is black powder and muzzle loaders, which we've got ourselves. We've got our muzzle loader revolver, and I'll show you the difference in the cylinder as to what you'd probably find on a normal revolver. So as you can imagine, on a normal revolver you just have holes this size going all the way through so that you could put your bullets in. But on this one, if I turn it around, you should be able to see there are just tiny holes not that far into the cylinder. That's just because you have to actually put the primers in yourself, which are here, after. Basically what you aim to do is to assemble your own bullet inside each cylinder. So in order, if I were to talk you through doing this, first you've got the powder, which we've got a vial of here, for example, and that's this powder, the smokeless shot shell powder. We store this in our safe so that it doesn't get, because it's still quite volatile, but not as volatile as black powder. Actual black powder you do need a license for, and you need to store it in a box, particularly a wooden box, because that's just a bit more volatile than smokeless powder
So
itself.
you actually need a separate license for black powder? Okay.
We've got other sizes in here just because we were doing a little trial and error with what grains of powder would be good for the power, recoil, and also the actual altitude that the bullet hit at. But we settled on 2.4 as a good average for our revolver in particular. So after putting that into every cylinder, 2.4 grains, or typically you do one at a time and then put the wad cutter in, which is here, hollow based wad cutter, 38 357, or just a minuscule bit wider just to give you the tight fit. When you push it down into the cylinder, you'll often get a little bit of excess layered around the edge just to make sure that it's seated properly. And once the powder goes off, the pressure goes into the hollow part and expands the bullet so that it catches the rifling in the barrel and sends it down. So after you've put the powder and the wad cutter in here, At this point you'd then put the cylinder back on the revolver, like that. Point the revolver downrange, and at this point you're going to get the shotgun primers. There they are. I'll just show you one. They're just small little primers, and you then load the primers in, and then once you've done that, once the primers are in, wad cutters are in, the powder and everything, load it up, and from that point on it's good to go. Our one in particular is quite nice. It's you've got obviously single action, double action, but because there's no safety on the revolver, the double action is quite heavy just to make sure that you don't accidentally fire it. The single action is typically a lot more accurate anyway, to just single action, cock, shoot, etc.
So double action means what?
Double action is when you would just pull the trigger and then pull the trigger again and again, like with a semi-automatic rifle or something like that. As such.
And let's see this single action.
Single action, you would cock the hammer first, and as you can see already the trigger is much closer, so you don't need as big a trigger pull. And when you pull that, the trigger goes back to here, and then you do the same, and so forth. So that's our one. We did also used to have a black powder revolver as well. The difference is just, it's not too vast other than the recoil. The recoil on this is a lot more snap to it, whereas the black powder revolver, when you fire it, it just kind of pushes out the bullet. It bounces in your hand, really. It just pushes it out. Obviously there's a lot more smoke. All kinds that are just as fun as one another. But yeah, that's obviously all the rules and laws we can go into because of what we have, but there are so many more laws out there that just don't apply to us, like straight pull rifles and AR-15s and everything like that. So yeah.
So just a question for all the folks out there that's probably thinking the same, that don't understand. Why then are we, if we can form our own round in them cylinders, why then is it only a 4-inch barrel?
Because
so basically you can load 6 shots up in here, yeah?
Yeah.
But it'd still be easy to conceal.
Yeah.
So can you explain that to people?
So what it does in this case, just to stop concealed carry and obviously public uses, is it slows down the rate of fire massively, because once you shoot out those 6 rounds, it's going to take you a long time to then reload the cylinder with the powder and then the wad cutters and then the primers.
So basically, if you had somebody that was very unstable that decided to do something they shouldn't, then it would not be very easy to do with that revolver.
No, the rate of fire is way too slow.
Okay. And this is arm score, isn't it?
Yeah.
And who's arm score made by?
I don't actually know.
I think it's made by the Philippines. I think it's made by the Philippines. Serial numbers, but I'm pretty sure it is. I might be wrong, but I think it is. It's got a nice feel as well, hasn't it, with these grips?
Yeah, the custom grip.
But yeah, well put, Ryan, and thank you for helping me out today, as there was a lot to be done. And like Ryan also said, that there's a lot in UK law when it comes to a lot of other rifles, etc. I know that straight pull at the minute, there's problems with them, so we're not even going to go into that because I hardly understand it, as the UK law itself is so confusing. And obviously with AR-15s and stuff, they are straight pull as well, which means they're like a bolt action, but you pull the cock-in lever and it spits out the round, kind of like the 1022, apart from the 1022 semi-automatic. And one of my mate's friends turned around once and said to him, so basically then a straight pull AR is kind of like a broken one. And he's exactly right when you think about it. It's like one that's not spitting out the bullets and you have to manually cock it yourself. But yeah, there's a lot of laws that we do not understand. We're not trying to be professionals, and we're not trying to act like we understand everything. We were just asked to help out today, so I hope for a lot of people out there they've got a better understanding that you can own firearms in the UK. It's not prohibited or anything like that. Just it comes down to safety and responsibility and understanding and fun. We use them on a fun basis at the range, just like people go golfing. It's about family sport. So cheers Malc, thanks for inviting us to do this video and for helping everybody out. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, stay safe. What do you say, Ryan?
Yep. Stay safe, happy shooting.
Bye all.
So that was Sean and Ryan's part. Very interesting, really interesting for me. A lot of the things we could have, I was shocked I didn't know we could have them. Never knew. Really, really surprising, and cheers for doing that for me, both of you, Sean and Ryan. A couple of other things I wanted to say was, recently in Scotland, I don't know the full story of it, but they bought out licences, I believe, for ordinary, you know, what we would class as ordinary rifles, air rifles, what we could just go and buy. They've now bought in licences for those. Trying to think of a few other things. There was anything else. I'll later on do a video about other stuff that we can have, like crossbows, bows, catapults, sling bows, etc. Right, well I think that's it. I've probably, no doubt I've probably missed out loads of bits on my video. Anyway, cheers for watching. I'll see you later.